Something I just realized is obviously for those who are kind of coming late to the party, which is pretty much all of my friends who I've not really kept up to date from the beginning. Um, so how I found myself into this position is, well, what is my position first and foremost? Well, I have an ocular melanoma or a choroidal ocular melanoma in the left eye. What is that? It is basically a tumor, like a mole, the kind of mole or tumor that you get elsewhere in your body, but it's on the inside of my eye. It's on the rear left quarter of my eye. So it's kind of between, if you were to draw, if there was an invisible piece of string connecting the cornea to my ear, it would be as it passes through the rear left quarter. Or, if you're driving a car and you look out your rear left window, it's about there. The original diagnosis was that it was around 10 millimeters in diameter by about 4.5 millimeters in depth. And I discovered it because I've had chronic headaches for a very long time. But I had also just very recently started experiencing these little, kind of like little marbles of light, sort of rolling across the top of my vision. If I went to the right, they would roll right to left, and if I went to this way, like lying down, they would go the other way, because obviously everything on your eyes is inverted. So I went to the optician because I had all these headaches and this weird thing, and the optician got slightly freaked out because she'd like read about it and she'd not seen these before, or if she had, it was very, very rare, and she sent me to an eye specialist. So straight away I kind of had an inkling that something was up. This is around 4 weeks ago. I'm losing track now, but this is about 4 weeks ago. And then this was on a Wednesday. The following Monday, I went in to see an eye specialist. He's one of the best in Australia. Luckily enough, he's based here in Adelaide. And he said straight away, yeah, it's a malignant melanoma. It's an eye cancer, but I'm trying to stay clear of the C word. I don't want to blow this out into something bigger than it isn't. And we had to get a whole bunch of checks done. So also went to my GP, ordered some blood checks, neck x-rays, because I get a lot of chronic pain in my neck. And I was scheduled for ultrasound on my eye and my abdomen to make sure that it hadn't spread. For some reason, the first place eye cancer spreads to is the liver, always. So that was the check, and that was done on the Thursday. So I had my eye appointment on the Wednesday, first appointment with a specialist on the Monday. The following Thursday were all these checks, and then the following Monday was when I had the final response. Now it would be 2 weeks tomorrow, and that was the big day where I was going to find out if one of three scenarios, the worst case being it had spread and I would be in for a world of difficulty. The second scenario is it's just in my eye. And then the third scenario is it's small enough for treatment. And that's the best case scenario, because if it's small enough for treatment, what they do is they have this thing called radiotherapy. They put a radioactive plaque or coin into your eye, depending on the size of the melanoma, and this plaque essentially saturates the melanoma with radio waves and isotopes, whatever you want to call it, over the course of around 4 days, and that neutralizes the tumor. And then after that, the tumor starts to kind of, like, I suppose, collapse in on itself and disintegrate. And then you just get regularly monitored going forwards. That's the best case scenario. If it's too big, they have to remove the eye, because ultimately the treatment isn't enough to neutralize the tumor, and then the tumor will spread. I mean, that's just what happens with cancer. So anyway, my blood test came back and they said, okay, look, your blood tests are all great, everything looks fine. Then the second, that was like one big tick in the mornings going to see my GP, and then we went to the specialist, and he said, no, look, yeah, there's no sign of it spreading to your liver. There's no evidence yet. That's not to say it might not have happened in little minute particles in the future, but I'm now, because I'm in, I will get regularly monitored. So if it does, at the very least, we'll get a head start on it. It won't be a surprise to us. I'll be proactively monitored now, I guess, for the next 10 years or so. So anyway, so hasn't spread. Big tick number one. And then the next one was it was small enough to be treated. Big tick number two. At which point it just became, all right, I'm going to have to go into hospital, have radiotherapy on my eye, and then life will go back to normal. Kind of. I'll start to lose vision in my eye, but that's by the by. That's kind of that's just the cost of getting through this with minimal sort of pain and anguish. So we were over the moon, and I can't tell you how happy I was and how fortunate I felt to be in that position. You go through a period of reflection where you start looking at what can happen to your life and what might not. And when you go down through the shadowed valley, and then somebody says, look, you're going to leave, you're going to live, basically life will go back to normal to the best, pretty much for the most part. That can only be good news. So if you've just got to go through a little bit of difficulty to get there, then who cares? So that news was 10 days ago. No, just under 2 weeks ago. However, that specialist couldn't actually perform the surgery, so he had to pass me on to his protege, a young guy who also had excellent training, and I met him a week on Thursday, so that was 9 or 10 days ago, and he talked me through everything that would happen in the operation, after the operation, all the side effects, how I would start to lose my vision. And that vision loss is inevitable, because ultimately you're basically sticking a little micro version of Chernobyl in the back of your eye. How can that not have some kind of collateral damage? But frankly, again, a small price to pay to basically just go about your life. But the good thing is, because the melanoma is based around here and everything in your vision is kind of inverted, what it means is I would start to go blurry off center. So if I'm looking dead ahead, where's the camera? If I'm looking dead ahead, that's not going to be blurry. What's going to be blurry is slightly off center. I'm back sort of, for example, playing club tennis, and my first thoughts were, Jesus, my return of serve is going to be a little off. As my depth perception starts to go over the next few years. But there are other things that they can do, and again, just what they were saying is there's basically 4 layers of treatment on the eye. So if this first round of radiotherapy doesn't work, and they don't see enough of a collapsing of the tumor, they can then use laser beams. So I guess Dr. Evil with his sharks with lasers on their heads, they come and basically they try and attack it. And then if that doesn't work, you have a third treatment, which is going back to another plaque, radioactive plaque. And then if that doesn't work, then it's, get fitted for a patch. But it's very rare that happens. Like, it's got a high success rate. So that and some of this kind of explains why there was a bit of a confusion when I was coming to out of the general anesthetic, because at that point the pictures of my tumor, you could see it kind of looked like the surface of the moon, and it was this 10.5 mil diameter. So when I came out of theater, they said that my tumor was actually 17 by 13. So I was thinking, shit, so it's 17 in diameter, 13 in depth. And that was where the whole misunderstanding came of basically going, shit, I'm going to lose my eye. But actually, no, what had spread is they can't identify it in the ultrasound. They can only identify it once they get in. And there was basically a membrane of this tumor that had gone vertically up and down. which created this. It's almost like a penumbra, and that was what they couldn't identify in the ultrasounds or anything, and MRIs wouldn't pick it up either. But now we know that. It's just now that explains why let the eye heal up. We'll then use different machinery, which apparently they don't normally use because it's not required. So anyway, is what it is. So we'll go that, and that's where they'll go to Victoria, where they have bigger plaques, which will then be able to cover it, because you need a plaque that has at least a 2 millimeter border around the outside. So basically, it covers the tumor plus another 2 millimeters around. So anyway, just wanted to give basically a bit of a backstory for all this. So this has all happened in the last 4 weeks, and it's been 2 weeks since my diagnosis. I wasn't actually originally. I thought I was going to be like rushed into hospital on Monday, and then the surgeon said, "No, it takes a bit of time. You're not going to get in for 2 to 3 weeks." And then, ironically, on Monday night about 8:30, I get a phone call saying there's an opening this week. Do you want to come in? And I was like, well, look, yeah, let's get it. Let's get it on. The sooner we deal with this, the sooner I can get on with my life and enjoy the summer of South Australia. So, um, uh, and it was like frantically just trying to organize things at work and get everything ready. And then I'm like, the hospital still haven't called me. Am I coming in? Yeah, no, you're coming in. And then I'm chasing the hospital, and no one's calling me. So this week has just been this kind of bureaucratic nightmare, which is strange considering I'm about to go in and have, potentially life-altering surgery. The way I mean, I was super happy going to the hospital. I asked Kainara, because you all know what happens if you don't treat cancer. Just life goes like this. Your health, even if on the surface you feel fine, you know that something's going to happen. But this was going to be the turning point where suddenly everything was going to start getting better. So I was super excited. I just wanted to get it on, and get on with it. Um, and I still feel that way, because right now, as it stands, we've not done anything. All they've basically done is they've had a look and they've identified that the tumor's bigger. So I'm still on this sort of downward slope, which is a little bit upsetting. But I know I can see the light. Well, I can't see it out of this eye, but I can see it. So to any